Good Erev Shabbos, Parshas Vayera. Some of you might remember a song back in the day, Joni Mitchell. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you've got till it's gone? We've lost a world leader today, not only in the realm of kashrut, but more importantly, in the realm of menschlichkeit. Rabbi Desmond Maisels, kashrut, doyen, Sefer, Moel, Shochet, Leiner, Dayan for the Beth Din, teacher, colleague, friend, many decades, but above all, mensch. And tributes are pouring in from all over the world. There are times that one feels a conflicting need to both scream and to believe. And in response to Moshe at the end of last week, confronting God and saying, how can you be doing this to your people? How can you be making it so bad for them? God begins to respond to Moshe at the beginning of this week by saying, I appeared to Avram, I appeared to Yitzchak, I appeared to Yaakov, and I never got the kind of negative lip that I'm getting from you, from them. Even though they never saw my promises fulfilled, they never questioned my integrity. Moshe, who do you think you're talking to? Where do you think you're coming from? The Torah deliberately goes out of its way to not utilize negative language, shaming language, unless there's a beneficial reason to do so, unless there's some kind of lesson to be taught. So why is Moshe being cast in this bad light? Why is he being reprimanded by God for doing something that is so understandable? So the Lubavitcher Rebbe suggests an understanding of the scenario as follows. Moshe for sure knew about the patriarchs, and he knew that they never challenged God, and there's no question that his faith was at least on a par with our forefathers. Chassidus explains that Moshe was on the level, he was an exemplar, he was an avatar of chachma, of wisdom, whereas the forefathers exemplified and embodied the perfection of the various emotional qualities and function and faculties, kindness, self-discipline, mercy. And emotions are susceptible. They're susceptible to being overwhelmed or sometimes overridden by acceptance, by acquiescence, what's called in Hebrew Kabbalat Ol, bowing to the yoke of perceived divine will. Intellect, on the other hand, doesn't give up. Intellect, the quality that Moshe represented, demands answers. So the patriarchs didn't question, didn't complain. They didn't challenge God per se. But Moshe, by virtue of his association with this level of wisdom, demanded an answer. And there are 2 points to note from this. That even in moments of tremendous sorrow, God's answer still stands. And we must do our best to emulate our holy forebears and recognize Hashem's will and accept it as such, without question. And on the other hand, Moshe's plaint on behalf of the Jewish people still remains an integral part of our holy Torah. It also has a permanent resonance and relevance, especially now at this point, when the night is darkest before the beginning of the dawn. When we wait for the Messianic era, when we experience just the messy instead of the messianic, the confusion of good and evil, of right and wrong, of darkness and light. And somehow we must contain within ourselves these two opposing feelings, to be strong in our faith in God, from whom comes only good, and that somehow this darkness is a precursor to the glorious dawn so long awaited. That's got to be the intellectual attitude. And at the same time, we cannot forego the emotional response, the cry of enough, Admasai. God, why are you doing this to your people? As Jews, as creatures of divinity, as the connectors of heaven and earth, we have to be the voice of both heaven and earth. Absolute emunah and absolute sensitivity to the cry from the heart of each other's pain, of the lack of a redeemed world. May we always have each other, or have with whom, to share both pain and support. Shabbat Shalom.